Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Evil Dead 2, starring Bruce Campbell, Sarah Berry, Dan Hicks, Cassie Wesley, and Richard Dormurer. Forgive me if I said that wrong. And directed by Sam Raimi. Now, this is my first viewing of this movie, so I'm just going to get straight into this one. We recap through some parts of the first film, where Ash, returned by Bruce Campbell, drives Linda to a cabin, and they get there and have a nice time until they find a tape recorder unleashing the evil dead, as well as reading the Book of the Dead. And we get Linda getting killed and buried by Ash, and the fog gets towards Ash and turns him into evil Ash until the sun rises and looks normal again, as these effects look horrible as this was the late 1980s. But it looks absolutely unacceptable. Like, there was shots that made it look cartoony, while the only difference between this and the first film was he brought others. It wasn't just Linda. There were two other girls and a guy named Scott. And I'm thinking to myself, is Sam Raimi trying to erase the first film completely? Because it sure as hell looked like it, which is a real problem from the get go. Ash wakes up and near the cabin, and how the fuck did he get back to the cabin where he was pushed away in the first place? As that also bothered me, and he hears his monster and tries to drive out of the woods, but he can't because of the bridge is broken, which is makes me think he's fucked while he's trapped there. And the sun sets for the day, and evil goes towards him, and he drives away rather quickly. And I did like that point of view, but Ash isn't so lucky that he runs back to the cabin where the evil dead follows him back there while he hides. And I'll give the movie this: I did like that point of view shot as we follow Ash back to the cabin. We move on as to reporters Annie Noby, played by Sarah Berry, and Ed Getley, played by Richard Domere. Forgive me if I said that wrong. Trying to get to the same cabin Ash is at, and I swear to God, I thought that actor that Scott was last time, but that was the actor that played Scott last time. But nope, it's a different actor playing Ed this time. Just like the actress I thought was Linda was in the first film, not in this movie. And we get her naked body dancing while in bones, which attacks Ash, and that looked so cartoony. It looks that bad. And I thought, what the fuck is going on in this movie? As I'm 20 minutes into it, and not much is happening. While the sequences is supposed to look scary, but the truth is, these effects don't hold up to this day. As he has her head and her body attacks him with the chainsaw, and I thought that was something introduced in the next film. But after watching this movie, I was wrong. But he grabs the chainsaw and cuts her up, which looked absolutely fake. Fake. Ash tries to get the gun prepared while the dead are thinking of ways to attack him, and Ash gives himself a pep talk in the mirror as it chokes him. I can't help how silly this movie is with its fake and bad special effects. Meanwhile, Annie and Ed can't get through the bridge because the bridge is broken, as Jake, played by Dan Hicks, and Bobby Joe, played by Cassie Wesley, DePavia, I don't even know if I'm saying that name right, taking them another way to the cabin, which is a horrible idea to begin with, while Ash is beating the shit out of himself. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with him? Well, his hand tries to cut free, and Ash cuts it off, while the hand is fighting the rest of his body while flipping it off, which looks so bad. I mean, Jesus. A deer head, as well as a lamp and a set of books, laugh at Ash after he falls down on his ass. And all this is like so dull, like I can't understand what the fuck's happening for half the movie. Ash points the gun outside because he heard something out there, and Jake was stupid enough to fight him off and knocking his ass out, while Bobby Joe, Annie, and Ed come in and throw him in the cellar while Annie was shot by Ash. And do I care for these characters? Honestly, they're dumb as hell, in my opinion. While they turn on the tape recorder and let the evil dead out of the ground and almost kill Ash until they let him out of the cellar. And the dead briefly attack Ash while fighting off Ed and Jake and put an eyeball in Annie's mouth, which is so fucking gross. Which is for sure. But come on, it looks so fake. Annie is there to visit her parents, and here's Mama is gonna buy a mockingbird from her own mother. And I thought, seriously, can horror movies use that kids songs to scare the audience? Because to me, that's cliche to death. Ed dies as he became one of them, kind of, and they're trying to find a way to get out of the cabin as the clock stops again, like in the first movie, as it gets quiet at first with it getting louder and louder. And we see Fishlands going on the dead's point of view as it was chosen to scare the audience. But unfortunately for me, it doesn't work as well as I wanted it to be. Ash goes to the bedroom or whatever that is to see something as Annie goes with him while Jake and Bobby Joe come in with them. And we see a fake looking ghost with Annie's father, and he tells them about the book as it was a curse. And Bobby Joe feels a dead hand holding her hand too tight, which cracked me up. And she goes outside from the cabin and bumps into a monster tree. And we get the rape scene again. Oh, God. And that necessary? Hell to the motherfucker no. As I did want that. Did I want that again? So it pissed me off, I'll say, as did the movie at this point. Jake becomes the biggest idiotic asshole to the rest of the movie as he gets to the gun and beats up on Ash while he demands them to look for Bobby Joe. And when they get out, Jake screams out Bobby Joe and knocks out Ash and Annie as he gets killed, and it serves this motherfucker right while Ash becomes the Evil Dead. And I didn't care as I was getting impatient with the movie at this point. Ash finds Annie and attacks her at first, but turns back to normal eventually, and Jake isn't dead yet. I was very surprised as this movie doesn't make sense, but he officially dies by the dead in the cellar, and thank God because that guy was annoying. And Ash does get switched back to the living thanks to the necklace, which absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. Ash tells Annie he's alright 3 different times, and I was frustrated while they go down the cellar to attack Ash, to attach Ash's hands as a chainsaw, and becomes a badass and says groovy. And that scene was entertaining, so well done on Sam Raimi's part, as they begin to attack the Evil Dead, as it shocks how short this movie is, as it's making me impatient. Ash gives Annie the pages of the curse while the dead start attacking, while Ash fights back with Annie singing Mama's Gotta Buy You a Mockingbird to the dead. And Ash chops that monster limb by limb and shoots off the head, and suddenly the tree starts to attack the cabin while Annie tries to stop the dead from coming with those offing looking special effects. As she gets stabbed in the back, and Ash almost gets crushed, and Annie finishes saying the words to get the dead back to the underworld. And Ash with them gets sent back to medieval times, which will lead to the next movie, Army of Darkness. Excuse me. As this climax was pretentious, and we'll see how the next one is, because I hear it's the best one so far, and so I'm curious about it. Now it's time for my rating. I'll give this movie a 3.7 out of 10. These effects look so cartoony and fake and awful that I get this is a silly movie while the characters are this time dumb as hell, and I can't relate to them at all. I'm scared of this movie. It scares me while I believe it's way too silly, and the plot itself was horrendously bad that I was busting my ass off, but it's not so bad it's good. It's bad with the story that's dull. Despite this is a short movie, I got completely impatient with it, and if it weren't for the show, I would have turned it off, and there was another new movie coming out, I wouldn't have looked back. So this is a non-recommendation. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time we'll be back with Army of Darkness. And until then, they're gonna get you, not another peep. Time to go to sleep.